All right. So I'm just going to tell you right now, this podcast is a party. And also our guest, Kevin Kepple, has so many lines, so many words, so many nuggets, so many gems that I don't even know how we're going to quote them all, because there's so many good ones that I cannot wait for you to hear in your ears. So if you are listening to this while drafting an email, may I suggest that you hit pause on that email and you take some time walking with this podcast, or grab a notebook, because Kevin Keppel is someone who, like all of us, started off at one thing, is doing another thing, and found the best way to be the person that he is. And y'all, I'm going to tell you right now, one of those nuggets is about being more, not doing more. And oh my gosh, I cannot wait to hear how you be more instead of do more after hearing his words, this podcast, our conversation. I have so much gratitude for Kevin, and I hope you enjoy this. Let me know how you take this podcast away, what your test takeaways are. If you answered those questions he gave you at the end, they're so great. They're so brilliant. In fact, they're questions you can like literally write down somewhere, copy and paste every time you need them. They're freaking great. So without further ado, here is Kevin Kepple. Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Hey, Be It listeners. Okay, I'm super excited because this man who you're about to hear is really awesome. Talk about being it till you see it. They have so many examples, and they truly are walking the talk. And so I have Kevin Kepple here, and I'm really excited to share with you his amazingness. So Kevin, who are you? What do you do these days?
What's up, Lesley? As you said, Kevin Kepple. I get to work with lots of different types of leaders, usually executives or business owners, and really help them create more access to happiness and aliveness. And if we want more, it's not about doing more; it's being more is the goal, and just really helping them be more of the natural genius that they have, and stepping into that so they can serve at really high levels and their own unique expression of amazing.
Okay, so many things to love about that. And of course, I love the being more. Like, I mean, you're at the right podcast for that. But how did you, before we get into being more, how did you get into this? Like, was this something that you started out right away? How did you start to see that like leaders out there needed to stop doing so much and being more than they were doing?
Yeah, I mean, I woke up one day when I was a kid, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and it was so easy, and
Who are
everything
your
worked out
parents?
perfectly. No, I wish. None of that is true. I like a lot of people, I've had different jobs. I went to college, got out of college, and happily ever after, right? And I got a job that I was good at, but didn't have a lot of joy in, and exposed to lots of different types of leaders. Through teachers, sports, corporate career, other jobs, and there's good leaders and there's bad leaders. And I just remember being really frustrated when one day when the VP of the company was screaming at me in profanities, and I was like, I feel like there's got to be a better way to lead people. And so I got a lot of contrast of what not to be, which was great, right? Really grateful for that. And I don't, he was doing the best he could with what he had. And I worked in different types of professional sales roles for years, and I worked in enterprise software sales for a number of years, and worked in financial services as well. And like I was winning the trips and all that good stuff. And I got promoted because that's what happens when you do well at a job, right? You get put in charge of people. Like that makes you a good leader for some reason.
It's true. That's exactly how it goes. They just go, oh, this person sells a lot, so let's put them in charge of people.
Yeah. They must know how to tell people what to do, which is not leadership, right? And I figured out that I really enjoyed helping people, like be more without making them feel like less. Like that's always the goal. And you don't have to win my way to win. Matter of fact, you're not going to win my way because we're never going to be creative making copies of other people. And, I'd love to go further, faster. Like whatever I'm doing, I want to, maximize it. And so I was working with a coach, and I remember he asked me what I liked about my job, and this dude was awesome. He was in the Secret Service for almost 30 years, and he kind of looked right through you, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you like about your job?" And I'm like, "Well, I love this and I love that." And da, 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 da. He's like, "Oh, hang on, hang on, hang on." He's like, "Stop." He's like, "Dude, I don't even think you like your job. You keep saying love." He's like, "You're not even looking at me. Your body language is all wrong. Your tone's all off." He's like, "Just one thing you like." And I had a lot of trouble getting there. And it's really, I like helping people, the people that were on my team. I liked helping them just, find the best, most authentic expression of themselves. And I'm like, okay, but that's such a small part of what I get to do, and like I really know I was in the wrong place. I'd won some trip and there was like a teaching part we had to go to, and they were talking about tax codes. And I was like 30 seconds, I was ready to get out of there. I'm like, I think I'd rather go slam my hand in the car door than sit here and listen to this, because at least I have something to do. Think about
You're
how
like,
bad
I
my
won
hand
a
hurts.
trip and I have to listen to tax codes. Great.
But I knew I was in trouble because I looked around and people were really excited. Like everybody's like engaged and into this. Cause I was like, okay, there's definitely been some sort of a mix up. I'm not supposed to be here. And my coach was like, dude, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to help people. He's like, everybody wants to help people in some form. He's like, how do you want to help people? And I had no idea. And, he's like, dude, long story short, he's like, I think he'd be a great coach. And then the limiting beliefs kick in and all the fear, right? I'm like, well, I don't want to like struggle, because like now if you throw a rock, you'll hit 5 coaches, right? Like they're everywhere. And this was years and years ago. And
So now if you
anywho,
throw a pebble, you'll
yeah,
hit 7 coaches.
yeah, yeah, if I fall on one too. But I really simple, just made it the intention. Like, hey, you know what? Like, I want to find something that supports this dream. And there's a little bit more to it, but it's fairly simple. And I looked on LinkedIn, which I didn't do frequently, and I saw an opportunity with this international multi-billion-dollar company that's based in Dallas, where I live, and for a national sales and leadership coach. And I'm like, hey, that looks cool. And so I took that job, and the only requirement was I had to move to Chicago. And I was really smart about it, though. I was like, I'll wait till after winter, and I moved in May. I didn't know Chicago does extra winter, so it was
Yeah.
still snowing in May, and it was really great. I worked for them for about 3 years, and I got to really coach and train people all day, every day, and work with powerful people. And I really learned how to, do what I do at an extremely high level, and stepped over and started my own thing years ago, and it's all good now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's got its own journey, because working for yourself, it's its own thing to learn. But what I find, which I like love, you're like, I want to work myself. I'm like, it is actually as hard as working for someone else. It's just a different kind. But what I love about this is like, you challenge yourself to like put yourself in a position to be, for someone to see you and to see like maybe what you weren't seeing. Cause I think a lot of us talk ourselves into the jobs we're in. We're like, I'm really good at this, and like keep getting promoted. I literally had to quit a job so they would stop promoting me. Cause I was like, if they promote me one more time, I'm going to say yes. I can't stop. So I think like, I think it's, I wish I had a Secret Service person going, do you know, you don't like this job? Did anyone ever tell you? So when you started doing this leadership coaching, what is it that you see? Because like there's a lot of people in leadership roles who actually want to be in these roles, and there's a struggle because they think doing more is a thing. So what do you think makes a good leader, and what is it different for each person, or what is this? What is something like a sign that someone should take? Like, oh, I'm a good leader.
Is anybody following you? Right? Like, because leadership's not a position. Like, you can be the president of a company and not be a leader. Leader is like an action, really. And leadership is different than management. Management's telling people what to do. A powerful leader is going to inspire and empower people. You inspire me, you stimulate me to action, you empower me, you give me knowledge and tools of how to do it. But winning with my gifts, not winning your way. And I think that just, are you telling people, or are you asking? It's probably the simplest way to know if you're exhibiting leadership or just simply management. Because if you're telling me what to do, that's not leadership. It's telling me what to do.
That is so fascinating. That's the best description I've ever heard. I'm like thinking of every single, like my brain just went to every single boss I'd ever and like, and it's so cool because that means you don't have to get a promotion at work to be a leader in your role.
Yeah. Dude, anybody could be a leader. Like, like God bless moms. Like, we wouldn't be here without moms. Like, one of the hardest leadership roles in the world. And, it's like I went to a 4-year-old's birthday party this weekend. I was like, man, it's like they're all drunk. and on drugs. Like they were all over the place, and they had Spider-Man there, and the little kid walks up to Spider-Man and he goes, my favorite superhero is Batman. I was like, that's leadership right there, buddy. Speaking up for what you want, but I just think it's a behavior. It's not a position. And, like somebody's watching you, period. And, there's like certain leadership traits for sure, that you can pay attention to and increase. But really, it's just about, how are you showing up?
Mm. And so when you were stepping into this new role, was that an easy thing for you to figure out? Was that something natural for you, or did you actually like have to, I don't know, like get lessons on and leading versus managing?
I think I spent so much time thinking about it and just always really gravitated towards leadership positions, whether it was, I played baseball and hockey for a long time. And, it's not always, I don't need to be the one in charge, but, quite often, leaders are going to emerge just because of the behaviors they're exhibiting, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and I love to read, and I love to just study people who are successful and see what they're doing and how I can use that to help people, through my own style. And I had some really great, so there was of course a learning curve, and I'm always learning, right? Like, I don't know is the most powerful phrase I ever learned how to say. It took me 3 decades, but I finally got there and learned how to mean it. But just watching other people, like, what do they do well? Like, well, what are they doing that I shouldn't be doing? That contrast is so powerful too. And just being really, I think just being really kind as opposed to right was one of the best things I learned how to do. Like, kind to myself as opposed to right about what I was doing wrong, or kind to other people, and just learning to, not need to be a certain way to be okay. I
Mm.
think that allowed me to evolve pretty quickly.
Mhm. Yeah, that kindness to ourselves. That's not something I feel like maybe going back to those little kids at a birthday party, maybe there's a natural kindness that they have, but somehow at some point we stop being so kind to ourselves, and we start putting others, maybe, I don't know, I've been out of the corporate world so long, but putting other people and being nice to them versus being kind to them, but nice to them at least versus ourselves first. And I wonder, um, I mean, you really can't be a leader if you're not being kind to yourself, because you're going to make mistakes. So how do you learn to be kind to you?
I think it's, the great skill, right? Choosing love over fear. It's like, if I'm being love, I'm going to attract more love into my life, and that's like unconditional love, not romantic necessarily, but unconditional love. It's like, not because like everything we've ever done was motivated by fear or love. If you look at every decision you've ever taken, I guarantee you can boil it down to one of those two. And fear can wear hats, right? Guilt, anger, apathy, shame, pride, all of those are fear based, right? Forceful behavior. And love is love. And unconditional love means like, I love me no matter what happens. I love you no matter what you do. Like, I don't have to like you to love you, right?
Mm.
And that's why we get married, so we can practice that with our in-laws, right? I don't have to like you to love you. No, that's a joke, not joke. If you're
One of my
listening, I
in-laws
love you
listens
guys.
to this podcast.
We're not talking about you.
We're not talking about you.
You're cool.
Other people's in-laws, though, those ones.
Yeah, on TV.
That is well, thank you for sharing that, because what a great example of like of the kind of love that we are practicing in our lives. Like, I think some people I know some of my listeners that can be so hard on themselves. They may not realize that they're actually practicing unconditional love in different ways. And there's a difference between liking someone and having love for them. And so giving ourselves credit for where we are in practice, and and honoring that, because when you can see that you are in practice, and you can practice again, and you can show up another day. So when you work with leaders, like what is your first thing? Do you observe them in practice? Do you like be a fly on the wall in their office, or like, what's your process?
Here's what's wrong with you. And we're going to need more than an hour. No,
Here's my assessment.
That's fun. That would be fun and really hard at the same time. But no, first place I start. So I'm certified by Gallup with the Strength Finders tool, or
Oh, we're going to talk about that. That's my freaking favorite tool ever. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, it's so phenomenal. Like that right there. I mean, it's a cheat sheet into your elite levels. And it's not a complete portrait of your character. It's like, hey, here's what you do really well. But even maybe more important, here's what it looks like when you give all your power away. And like, what a cool gift. It's a cheat sheet into your, extremely high levels of satisfaction, performance, whatever. And like, we all know that everybody's different, right? But we always, okay, I'm gonna look at the world through her eyes. And you look at the world through her eyes as yourself. That's not gonna do you a lot of good. But if I can look at the world through your like natural patterns of behavior and high energy and exceptional performance, like that's really cool. And I think probably the greatest gift for strength finders was I finally had permission to be me. Like I told you, I was working in finance, and I hated Excel. I hated text codes. I'm like, I think there's something wrong with me. Like, no, dude, you're just not built to like that kind of thing, and that's totally cool. So I start with that because I mean, just one conversation with somebody, you can shift people so fast. Like if I tell you Lesley this, I tell you Lesley that, you may hear it, but if you see it differently from within, right? Sight from within, insight, like that's how you create lasting change. And like it's such a cool thing because I mean, at this juncture, I've worked with thousands of people with the Strength Finders assessment, and it's always like so on point. People are like, sometimes people get their results like, well, this just isn't right. Like it's usually because they don't understand it. And once I explain it, like, oh, okay, that is me. And we think we want what we don't have, but then when you start looking at the things that aren't natural for people, like, do you want to do that? Like, like woo, winning others over is a strength, right? A lot of people who don't have it, like, I wish I had woo. I was like, they have like an incessant need to talk to everyone, shake every hand in the room. Do you want to go talk to everybody in the room? Like, no. But people with woo, like, yes, and like that's cool, man. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're built that way.
I'm laughing because I'm 100% introvert and woo is in my top 5.
Ooh,
and it's
that's
exhausting because it's like, I can't leave, but I need to go lay down.
There's somebody over there on the other side of the warehouse I haven't talked to yet. Yeah. You guys are so good because you protect the rest of us though.
Yeah.
Because y'all can actually get energy from that. And like, it's really fascinating to watch people with woo work. And I used that specifically because I knew that you had to have it. Like as soon as we got on, I was like, that's woo. Cause it made me feel really good.
Well, thank you. And also, I think like it, also our strengths, if we like lean into them a little bit, like I knew there was a time when like I was not winning someone over. I was like, I'm going to stick around in this relationship till I win you over. And it's like, oh, actually, maybe he's just not that into me. So yeah, that's a story for another day, everyone. But here's what's here. You're going to get a kick out of this. This is how much Strength Finders like matters to my husband and I. So we were on a first date that he didn't know he was on. And he just told me he was going through a divorce. And I was like, okay, this person's not really going to be dateable. But then we started talking about like the businesses we ran and all this stuff. And he had a band and he worked for a startup and I had written a book. And he mentioned, he's like, oh, have you heard of Strength Finders 2.0? And I was like, what are your top 5? And he pulled out his top 5. I pulled out my top 5. We had 3 that overlap, different orders in the top 5, but 3 out of the 5. And then he was like, do you want to get out of here? And so that was like, that was our way of getting together. But it is those, you're correct in how it really makes you understand yourself and like who you are so much better, because I could not understand why there were certain things that would just like, I would go all in, it would light me up, and other things that I'm like, this is like, I don't, but like one of my top 5 is significance. So it's like, it has to matter. Yeah. It has to be important. And then I also have activator, positivity, woo, and connector. And so it's like, those are, I don't know which order they're in, but like, I feel like significance was in the top 3 and activator and connector in the top one up there. But like, I was like, oh, this is why, like, I literally meet someone and I have to connect them over here. And I do, like, I really love doing that. And my husband, he's told the story on the pod before. So if you've heard it before, everyone, you're hearing it again, but Kevin hasn't. He was trying to figure out how he like, why in the band he was the one making sure they all got paid and making sure all these things, and he couldn't really figure out like what like made him up. And when he did that, he's like, oh, this is why I'm the person who does this at work, and this is why I do this. And it really helped him understand that he had transferable skills, not just in a band but also in a business. And so now he's a CEO of our companies. But like, how cool that a test like that could actually go, oh, this is why you're so like, this is what you can do in another company. You don't have to just go, well, I'm in a band and I don't
Yeah, but that's such a great point. Like we're all different, we know that, but do we actually own that? And like, I have an older brother, he's 2 years older than me, but like I always joke with him, I'm like, dude, you're born like 70 years old. He's like always been like very wise and responsible, and just like, cartoons are stupid, that would never happen. Like, I'm like, dude, we're like 4 years old, man, it's cool. And he was so serious. And I used to compare myself to him, right? The comparison game. We like to look at other people and so we can feel inferior or superior, right? The worst game anybody ever plays. And I was like, well, I can't do the things he can do because his number one strength is deliberative. It means he's slow, he's methodical. I assess every risk before I even start. And to you and I, who have activated really high, we're like, dude, I got bored and quit listening. I just want to jump off the cliff, build the wings on the way down, right? Whatever that looks like. And it's like,
Yes.
yeah, we're like, dude, don't give me instructions. Like that slows me down. I might have to come back and ask for them later, but just don't give them to me up front. Just let me get started because ready, fire, aim is such an effective strategy for us. But
Yeah.
it's just, we're different. It's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
better or worse.
I hope my whole entire team listens to this because I'm like, I have this idea. And then they're like doing the whole project management. And I'm like, I'm already 17 steps ahead. I've already asked them. They said, yes, these people are going to do this. And they're like, wait, we have to have a process. And I'm like, no, because I want to know quickly if this plane's going to fly or not. Like, I don't want to build it and it doesn't work.
But then with the activator, what we get is that WTF look a lot because we start so far ahead of the starting point. It's like if somebody asks you to explain the alphabet, you're like, yeah, it ends with Y and Z. They're like, wait, what? And it confuses people. And it's not like smart or dumb. It's just like we're ready to get to the end and we can begin with the end in mind really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so powerful. And it's so good to have people around you that can do the processes and support you and help you find the things that, oh, yeah, maybe we should get insurance. But
well, you know what is also great about them because they are listening is sometimes the idea is really fucking awesome and it goes great. And then we need to fly again. So it's really nice when they're like, okay, here we can just like repeat, rinse and repeat.
yeah.
This is so okay. So you have people do this and then you have them understand their strengths better. And then in turn, hopefully that helps them take these next steps as a leader, just owning who they are as opposed to trying to be something that they're not in their role.
Yeah, absolutely. And really just helping, them understand like it's one of the cool things about strengths, like your natural sources of energy. And energies can be indifferent, right? Like it's power, it's our natural power, but gravity is super powerful. You and I don't float away to the moon or whatever, right? Thanks to gravity. But if we go up to the top of my house and jump off, we go crashing into the ground, right? It's not malicious. It's just going the way I direct it. And so with my strengths, I need to make sure they're pointed in the way I want, like significance. You mentioned that one. So I have that one fairly high too. And that's a really great strength because it's about make an impact on other people, make an impact in the world, make an impact on ourselves. And that's the balcony, right? The good version, that negative space on the basement, if you will. The basement's like when I make things really important that aren't that important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And start, maybe even making it all about me, right? The me monster comes out and then like, just pushes people away.
Oh, I feel like I'm getting a therapy session, everyone, because I'm like, oh, I do that. That is a bad. That is not so great.
But what's so wild with that assessment? Okay, so Gallup, I love you guys. They're the ones who created Strength Finders, but like your marketing people need to have a talk. We need to have a little heart to heart here.
Same with their website.
Well, yeah, their website. They just redid it a couple of years ago. I'm like, somehow it went regressed, but they rebranded Strength Finders to Clifton Strengths in the middle of the pandemic because that's what you do when you have an assessment somebody's taken 30 plus million times. You change the name to something even more obscure that nobody understands. Don Clifton was the guy who created Strength Finders. Like, thank you, Don in heaven. But Clifton Strengths Assessment doesn't really help me understand what it is, and now it makes it harder to find for people. Mm-hmm. So Strength Finders, Clifton Strengths, same exact assessment, and they package it where you can buy the top 5 or all 34.
Yeah,
and so like when I went to Gallup years ago, they're like, "Do you have any questions?" I have lots of questions. I'm like, why is competition not higher for me? I feel like I'm the best at Strength Finders. And they were like, yeah, it's number 6. I'm like, but it's not my top 5. And so here's how you read the report just for you guys. Here's how you find your dominant strengths. Your dominant strengths go all the way down to 10, 11, 12, or 13, somewhere in those 3 numbers, like out of the, again, 33, like plus million times we've done this. So when you read the top 10 in your head and you read the definition, it should sound like this. Yeah, that's pretty much always me. Either after 10, after 11, after 12 or 13, it stops and it sounds like this. Instead of being pretty much always me, it's, well, that's sometimes me, but not always. And so you just draw a line right there. Everything above that line, those are your dominant strengths. So even like 12 or 13 can be as strong as 1 sometimes. And just because of the way they package it, though, a lot of people don't understand that, and myself included in the past. So
that's interesting. I did the top 34 because I wanted to find an assistant and I didn't want to find another me because I knew I would like love someone else who was like me. I would love someone That'd be so much fun. But I'm an ideas machine. And
I was gonna say,
again,
what about the details?
yeah, and there's no details. Correct. I mean, I married someone with a details in their top 5, thank God. But I made sure we have everyone who like has to be on my team. We like do their strength finders, and they have to like make up for the bottom. There's gotta be someone who can make up for the bottom, because otherwise it's like, where is that thing? I put it in this folder. I don't even know.
I've got a bunch of those folders.
Yeah, those folders.
That's funny. But and two, it's important to understand it's not like a complete portrait of your character. It's your natural talents is all that this shows you. And at the bottom, it's not weaknesses, it's just your least expressed strengths. Like harmony is number 34 for me. Like doesn't mean I can't get along with anyone, right? Just means that I move fast, so I don't always wait for everybody to see what I'm doing. I see empathy at 34 all the time. And especially if it's a woman I'm working with, they'll ask, "Is that bad?" I'm like, "Did that mean you're a serial killer? It's really bad." Like, really? Like, no, it just means you're not like super empathetic. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean you don't have empathy. It just means it's not like a dominant thing for you.
Yeah.
And it's no big deal. And you know what? Like, talent's not rare. Not at all. Like, I've never seen a blank report. Like, nope, no talent for you. Sorry. Like, what's rare is people who've developed this talent into a genius they can leverage on demand. And genius has so much less to do with genetics than it does with habits. Get into the habit of being your most excellent self, whatever that looks like. And that's the trick right there. It's so simple, but not easy.
So when you learned so far, because now everyone's taking this test while they're listening to us, and they don't do that. You really want to be by yourself because it's a time test. But
Yeah.
but when you kind of like got into your strengths, how did you lean into them without, like, is there a way of like leaning into them more, or is there a way of like, okay, I'm going to exercise this strength more, honoring those? Because I think, it's easy for people to go, oh, empathy is my worst one, I'm going to make that one better. It's like, how did you stay in your zone?
That's a great question. It's probably a very eloquent way of saying this question that I get asked like every time I ever taught this or worked with somebody. It's like, and like, so the basement is like our negative behavior, like when we're making it all about us with our strengths. Like, for instance, maximizer is my number one strength. Maximizer in the balcony is like just fascinated with elite, like whatever, like, mastery looks like in this, whether it's a person I'm working with, like Lesley, like you're a champion. I was so excited to be on your podcast. Like I listened to it before I reached out because I want to be around somebody I feel like is a master. And like, you're definitely a master at being with people and just doing what you do. And that's really attractive to a maximizer because I wanted to just be around it. So I can like, how can I use some of that for me and help people like her or whatever? And that's obviously really healthy, getting to like just elite levels. The basement on maximizer is nothing's ever good enough, right? Like, well, let me just make it a little better and a little better. And it's like, how did you even get dressed today if it's not like absolutely amazing, And so it can be very picky. And so the question people ask, like, how do I get out of the basement once they understand the language, right? It's like our blind spot. I'm like, man, it's really simple. Stop making it all about you, right? Because if I'm solely focused on me, then like that gives the ego a lot of time to jump in and, the BCDs, blaming, complaining, defending, fear, and worry, and all those like behaviors that take a lot of energy but bring us little, right? It's an addiction. Like addictions all have the one thing in common, like repetition with no payoff. And people get addicted to that stress filled negative space of worry, and Kevin included in the past. And so the way that you can lean more into these is understand what good looks like, but also understand what the basement looks like, so that what I'm aware of I can actually do something about. What I'm unaware of, that's the dangerous stuff. Those unaware behaviors that are just patterns of my life that take me away from what I want. And, like I can't give what I don't have. If I don't understand my strengths, then I can't, use that, and not at the highest level. And Gallup has a great podcast, actually, if you can find it. Like they hide it somehow, but it's phenomenal. I think it's called Clifton Strengths. They just rebranded that too after 7 seasons, so they're really crushing it. But it's awesome if you do find it, because it's like 10 minutes of one strength, and just like pick one a day, a week. But I mean, like with anything else, like it's so important to make new decisions. Like so often people make this judgment, like, oh, this is how it is. Like even if it's a good thing, and whatever you like judge as being a certain thing, like you're no longer evolving there. It's like static, right?
Yeah.
And so like every time I go back and read about Maximizer, I learn something new. Even though I've worked with this tool for years, it's still a new version of me. So I need to make new decisions, right?
Yeah.
And what does the next level of this look like?
Oh my God. I now have a new podcast I'm going to listen to and be obsessed. But I also think that I've never heard of the terminology like the balcony and the basement. And I kind of love this because Brad's going to listen to this because we'll do a recap on you. We talk about you on air. So it's not behind your back.
Subject. That's great.
You get to listen to it. But like now I can just go, I'm in the basement. Leave me alone. I'm in the basement. I need to get out.
Sometimes we go under the basement too.
I feel that. So, as an activator, I feel like that's like really quickly something I can do. Oh my gosh. Okay. Fun. So I think this is really cool. So how many people are you like coaching on leadership? And is this something you're doing all the time? Like, is this like, do you work with like one-on-one people? Or are you just going over people's quiz? Like, it's not a quiz, it's definitely a test, but like, are you going over these like with individuals or with teams? How do you work with this?
That's a great question. So a few different ways. I do a little bit of one-on-one coaching, but not very scalable because there's only one me. So I have actually some coaches that support the work that we do. So I have a good team underneath me that can extend out and do a little bit more one-on-one. But then I do a few different types of groups. Host a mastermind group for entrepreneurs and business owners that just really want to go further, faster. Like-minded people on like-minded journeys, and I love that because we're all co-elevating together. And I also do some corporate work. I work with a couple of different CEOs, and then work with their leadership team as well, and just helping them really to be better, faster, smarter, build a better, more powerful culture, and really just leaning into the gifts that God gave them to go out and create whatever their version of amazing is. And so, long answer to a short question.
No, but I find it fascinating because of course my brain was like, well, do you make sure that there's a bunch of different strengths represented in your mastermind? Like and then another thought, because it bounced, was like, do you ever do that with the CEO and their leadership team and realize, hey, you've got like these people doing like their wrong roles? Do you ever like move people around so that they can be more aligned with their strengths, or you kind of just help them find the balconies in their roles with what they've got?
Yeah, I mean, if they do internal shuffling, that's, I don't really do the consulting piece as much. I have, but I really prefer just helping people figure out whatever it is that's, stopping them, slowing them down, standing in the way, because it's like when we're happier, we perform better, period. Right.
Yeah.
And we're all innately happy. We just cover it up with all this BS. It doesn't matter. And so a big part of what we do is, like limiting beliefs, right? So simple, but a lot of people just don't understand it. Even if they've heard the phrase, they don't know what's limiting them, right? And helping people learn to master the mindset and the heart set, because so many people give away all that power, right? It's just the mindset. That's all they use, right? It's all logic and reason. I'm like, dude, your mind's a fraction of your being. Like, you don't have to use it all the time. Like when I sit down, I don't use my legs, not much, right? I don't need to use my mind constantly. But if I'm trying to use reason and logic, there's no risk in reason and logic, right? I'm eliminating all that, and I'm going to stick to the known, and I'm going to crawl through life like very slowly. But when I can go through the gut, right? That intuition, that knowingness, like I know what's for me. Like I knew this podcast was for me. I knew this space was for me, right? And then I go into the heart, like where's the energy? Where's the love? Like, dude, I love your attitude, your energy, the way that y'all do recaps. I heard y'all doing one. I was like, is that something they do all the time?
Oh,
and then the basement came out. And I'm like, hey, wait, they're going to do that about me. And I'm like, wait, that's awesome. I think that'd be really cool. And then like go into the head for the planning, right? And then I did want to leverage that mind to create the plan. And then I use reason, then I use logic, right? Once I've already gone through the like most infinite parts of me down here. And so if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's so there's some like 17 things I wanted to touch on, but one of the things I loved at the beginning is you are not being everything in that role. Like, of course you could probably consult for them. You can make it part of your package, but you are actually like going, this is what I actually do. This is what I really like to do. This is where I really excel in doing it. And that's good. I think a lot of times, as we coach people, they're like, well, I can do this and I can do this and I'm gonna do all these things. And I'm like, okay. And that's exhausting. Do you really want to spend that much time with people? Do you know how much time you just said you're going to make sure you sit with that person you're selling it to? So I think that's because I think a lot of people would do that. So I love that you shared that, because I hope it gives people listening permission to like, it's not limiting, because now it's like more energizing to do what you do by just giving yourself like, this is the thing I like to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a great point. Energy is like either there, it's not, right? Like we feel really good about things, or maybe they take our energy away. And that's a really cool thing again about this assessment. It just shows you your natural sources of energy.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, hey, I've got this predisposition for doing this. So what does it look like when I invest time learning about it and actually using it? And let's show you your superpowers. And it's so funny. Like I work with this tool for so many different amazing people. And I've asked this question probably 200 times, like, hey, tell me your top strengths, like with somebody I've already worked with for a decent amount of time. And they look at me and they look at their phone. They start going through their papers. And I'm like waiting and I'm waiting. And they finally find, okay, oh my gosh, I got activator and I got this and I got that. And I'm like, dude, do you think it would be awkward if we were walking down the street and we met Superman and we asked him what his superpowers were, but he had to look at his iPhone to tell us he could fly? Like, these are your superpowers. Don't you think you should just take the time to memorize them? Like, and, like Kevin included, because my coach at one point was like, hey, what are your strengths? And I pull it off the shelf. I'm like, blow the dust off.
Yeah, I love thinking of it like that. And I hope everyone listening goes and gives themselves the test if you haven't, or dusts off the strengths if you have, and dive in and get to know yourself a little bit more, because the more we know about ourselves, the easier it is to like lean in and be ourselves and be that for others. And I think that's kind of how you be it till you see it.
Yeah, exactly. And know thyself. I read that in a good book once.
So Kevin, where can people find you, follow you, share their superpowers with you?
Kevin Kepple on Instagram or LinkedIn. Unlock Your Freedom Podcast with my name. Yeah, really any social media, wherever you like to go. Yeah, just reach out if I could help. And I'd love to helping people. If you've got a question, let me know. And if you're wanting to take the assessment, by the way, it's kind of hard to find what we were talking about. Just Google Clifton Strengths Assessment Purchase. That's what you put in. Like
put in purchase.
Yeah, it should get you to the right place.
We'll put the link below. And if you don't know, everyone, it's really easy. You can just swipe on up, and like my team puts all these links, including how to get to Kevin, how to get to his podcast and all of that. But yeah, it's also very interesting. If you buy it for other people, then you have to figure out how to find that purchase, but you can, it's possible. We've done it. So we'll have it there. So Kevin, we ask everybody, be it till you see it. Bold, executable, intrinsic, targeted action steps people can take to be it till they see it.
Ooh, yeah. What a great question. I think like keeping it really simple, right? Leonardo da Vinci's simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Like such good advice. So ask yourself 2 questions. Like, what do I want? And why do I want it? What am I passionate about creating right now? What do I absolutely love? And then why? How can I mix generosity into that? Because passion is a little selfish sometimes. And don't ask how, because if you knew how, you'd already be doing it. But what do you want? Why do you want it? And then, just without judgment, like what's slowing me down? What's standing in the way? What's stopping me? And find somebody powerful like Lesley, pay her money so that she can help you go further faster, because you will always go faster with a really powerful coach that is really, really lethal, beautiful combination of a big heart and a big brain. And that's definitely what Lesley Logan is. So I would highly suggest finding somebody like her to take you wherever you want to go.
Oh my gosh, Kevin. Well, like attracts like. So same to you. Thank you. These are great questions. Everyone, how are you going to use these in your life? Let us know. Tag Kevin on Instagram, tag the Beit Pod, share this with a friend, take your test, share your top 5 with us and your friends, because the more we all know about ourselves, the easier it is to be it till you see it. And if we're all doing this, I'm like, what a better world we're all living in. So much easier. So thank you so much. And until next time, be it till you see it. That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of As the Crows Fly Media.
It's written, produced, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Kroll. Our associate producer is Amanda Frattarelli.
Kevin Perez at Disenyo handles all of our audio editing.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to our designer Jaira Mandal for creating all of our visuals, which you can't see because this is a podcast, and our digital producer, Jay Perdoso, for editing all the video each week so you can.
And to Angelina Herrico for transcribing each of our episodes so you can find them on our website. And finally, to Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.